What are you doing?
Well, I thought I'd just set the scene, you know. We're looking at the use of all this new age sort of stuff, TCM, acupuncture, herbs. It's all pretty kind of out there.
Actually, what's old is new again when it
really?
comes to, treatments.
Okay.
Okay?
Tell me.
There are lots of Aussie vets who are now choosing to treat their pet patients with the best of both East and West medical expertise without the OMS, I think.
Okay.
To explain it all, holistic veterinarian, author and lecturer, Dr. Barbara Fougere.
Barbara, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Again, we've got to ask you, what is the difference between natural and traditional veterinary care? Why?
Well, it's actually very similar in that we still use very traditional ways of working out what's going wrong with animals, but then we'll try and use very natural approaches to treatment. And we're often treating animals that are responding poorly to conventional treatments or to medications, and people are looking for more gentle, perhaps safer ways of treating their companions.
I have to say up front, you've looked at a couple of our dogs. You haven't seen all of them yet.
Oh my goodness!
But they seem to be doing okay with what you've done and what some of your other vets have done with them. And we've followed some of the regimes. Mm-hmm. Some seem very strange. I think this is one of the things a lot of people have, this thing of like, but it's just some kind of ooga booga kind of powder, what does this do? What does that scent do,
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of mystique about complementary medicine, but in fact, a lot of the things that we use have been around for quite a long time, and we've adapted them to animals rather than from people. And we know that these things work. We see it every day in our practice, and certainly our clients tell their friends, and they start changing their friends' animals' lifestyles, and they see the improvements. I mean, one of the simplest things people can do to make sure their animals stay healthy is keep them lean. There's a lot of very overweight animals out there, and it's the most common nutritional problem out there.
There are a lot of overweight owners too.
Well, absolutely. And look what's happening to people. We've got diabetes on the rise and all sorts of problems similarly with animals. So if we can prevent those problems by helping them to lead better lives, we're in the right direction.
What can we do for some of these basic things? I mean, it is hard. We do think that, that doesn't look like much for a pet,
Well, when it comes to feeding, one of the most important things is to know whether your animal is overweight or not, and if they are, it's probably a good idea to seek medical attention. Go and talk to your veterinarian about it, because they can help assess what we call the body score, and we have a range from 1 to 5, and if you're on the high end, watch out. You're going on a diet, and there are various different ways of losing weight, just as there are for people. A combination of good quality nutrition and exercise will usually do the trick, and we do have a tendency to overfeed. We've only got little critters, and we tend to feed them what we think they would like, and it's usually too much.
Yep, and the crusts off the toast in the morning, and all those other little.
The other thing a lot of people do, of course, is and we learnt pretty early on not to do this, is they leave the food out all day, so the dog's got something, or the cat has got something to eat.
Yeah, well, dogs are opportunistic. If there's something lying there that smells good and tastes good, well, why not?
They'll eat it.
So that's one of the first things to do, is to start meal feeding and giving them small meals several times a day.
Now, moving on to some of the other things that people find, not everyone has already embraced acupuncture yet. It was something I got into years ago. But sticking needles in animals might seem a little odd to people when they find it hard to, even clean their teeth or something.
Sure. There's over 250 veterinarians now in Australia that are qualified in veterinary acupuncture.
Wow.
And it's becoming worldwidely accepted as almost a legitimate form of treatment for animals, because we do see great results with pain relief, with some of the osteoarthritis conditions, back pain, and even behavioural problems can respond to acupuncture. So it doesn't hurt much. Sometimes you'll get a sore point, but on the whole, most of my patients, the first time they're a little bit like, what are you going to do to me? That's probably because their owners are a bit nervous about the needles. The second time I treat them, they're usually lying down, waiting for the needles, and by the 15 minutes later, they're either asleep or very relaxed. So it has great sort of healing properties, reduces pain, and really causes a nice relaxation for animals.
The one thing we noticed going to your practice is that it's all very kind of calm. It's calm in reception. The rooms are calm. They're lit in a nice soft manner. You've got cushions around, and people can sit on the floor with their animals. It's lovely. It doesn't have that very sort of sterile feeling.
Well, we find that if our patients are relaxed, then we can actually provide a better treatment for them. And we do see a lot of animals that have a history of being extremely nervous or frightened when they go to see the vet. They're usually put on a stainless steel table and they shake and they rattle and roll. They often come into our place and they don't really pick up that it's a veterinary clinic, and they go, hang on, who are we visiting now? So they're actually much more relaxed. We all know that if we go to the doctor and we're a bit nervous, we don't listen half the time, we don't get the best treatment, so being more relaxed really helps.
So Barbara, tell us about herbal medicines. What's all that about?
Well, there's this huge renaissance in herbal medicine for animals, and it comes about because prior to about the 1960s, if we go to any of our old veterinary textbooks, we'll find herbs mentioned in there as mainstream medicines. And we forget that most of our drugs actually originate from plants. And so we're looking at the science behind herbal medicine and how we can use the special things within plants to improve our animals' health. And I couldn't practice anymore without herbs. I sometimes wonder, what on earth would I do if I went into a regular practice and I didn't have my herbs with me, because there's nothing like them, particularly for some of those chronic conditions, things like itchy skin and cancer and behaviour problems. Wow. We get some wonderful results with herbal medicine.
Okay, now I'm going to... So for itchy skin, for example, what kind of herbs are good for itchy skin?
Well, once again, we use our conventional procedures for finding out why the dog's itchy. They can have allergies, they can have parasites, fleas, food allergies. There's a whole range of reasons. So we need to understand why they're itchy, and then we can actually tailor the particular herbs to try and change the way the body is responding to those things. Just topically, things that work very, very well are oatmeal. So if your dog's particularly itchy, you want to settle the skin down quickly, get some porridge. You don't want to cover your dog in cooked porridge, but you can actually get the milky white water once you soak your raw oats in it, and you can actually use that as a rinse on your dog, and that can really settle down the skin. In fact, so much so that there are quite a few veterinary shampoos now that actually have the oatmeal colloids in them, and that's because it's an old-fashioned treatment that works, and they've obviously incorporated into these products.
I imagine diagnosing problems is perhaps the same as traditional. Well, you are a traditional vet, as it were, but actually doing the problems, treating the problems itself, you go about it sort of two ways, don't you?
In terms of finding out what's going wrong, sometimes we see patients where all the tests have been done, or the next step for the tests is something quite invasive, and people are a little reluctant to put their dog under for surgery or through some sort of special procedure. We're very fortunate because we can use other ways of working out what's wrong. For example, we pay a lot of attention to the colour of the tongue. And you're thinking, the tongue? But if you go and look at your dog's tongue and compare it to other dogs' tongues, you'll see there are differences in the shape, in the colour, in the size. And in Chinese medicine terms, that gives us a lot of information. It's the only muscle in the body you can actually see. Wow. And it can reflect what's happening in the rest of the body. So we use the tongue, and we also have a feel of the pulse, not to make sure they're alive or not, but just we can actually feel different qualities about the pulse, and it can tell us a lot about what's happening on the inside.
Fantastic.
Well, fascinated by that. I knew about the pulse for humans, but I, of course, didn't even think, should have, that you can use that with animals. Okay, we'll have to have a look at the dogs' tongues.
Oh, we certainly will. Thanks, Barbara. That was Dr. Barbara Fougere from All Natural Vet. Just go to naturalvet.com.au and you'll find out a lot more about the work that Barbara and her great team do.
You want more podcasts like this? Just go to foodwinepetstravel.com.